I think being a guitar player is awesome. Super fun. I've loved almost every bit about it.
Yes.
Except for these 10 things we're going to talk about right now. Very important news right here. Right?
I think so.
Let's and we're going to go just like, we're just going to go down the list and have fun with it. But we paired it with like a sort of a counter. Like there's a top 10.
There's always a silver lining.
And I tend to always, I'm a glass half full type of guy.
Yeah,
I've always been that way.
Yeah.
And it's like the world might be like burning and falling apart and things. And I'm like, hey, it's going to get better.
But this is why being a guitar player is awesome, because even the 10 crappiest things are not so bad.
It's better than real life. That's what we always say.
Life.
Number one, let's start with. The worst thing is being poor.
Yes.
So you're poor in many ways because you're going to buy a lot of toys. If you're a professional musician, odds are you're going to be poor.
Probably end up in a guitar shop.
Yes, you're going to end up working in a guitar shop with idiots.
Yes.
That barely finished high school, if they finished high school, or they went to college for a semester. Or how long was that?
Yeah, right around there.
The silver lining is
more.
you never have to get a real job ever.
Ever.
Like it's if you can figure it out, you can pretty much stay a child, an adolescent.
You can just coast.
Like our wives, like we just play all day. That's what we do. It's fun. So that's number one. Number two, being asked at every event to play. Like everything you go to, like, hey, like can you play this thing? Or can you play Wonderwall?
Yes.
Which I immediately say yes. I can play Wonderwall and I'm very thrilled to play it.
You're probably happier about that than any other guitar player playing Wonderwall.
If someone says, yes, will you play Wonderwall? I'm
You're
like, I'm
absolutely
immediately happy. You got it. Anything by Oasis, I can play it in the drop of a hat. But no, but that's also the good thing. Like it can annoy you, but it's also like, hey, like you are immediately the cooler guy at this party or event or thing just because you can do something that most everybody in the world wishes they could.
I mean, your other guy friends may hate you, but yes, you're cooler.
Well, you spent the formative years of your life when you should have been out, like chasing the ladies or the fellas and smoking
Whatever.
weed,
Seeing the sunshine.
seeing
Whatever.
sunshine, playing this metal and wood and
Thing.
box, yes, and it pays off. Let's go to number three. Taking the crappiest gigs ever.
Yeah, like at,
You just had one recently where there was nobody there, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that wasn't, yeah,
Wasn't crappy, it's just fun.
just no one was there.
Or just like you'll show up at gigs like where like there's no working PA, there's like kind of works and
That's the worst. Or like, we used to play at this place that was like, you could tell it used to be like this Mexican restaurant. And the stage was like in this corner, but there was a wall. So everyone was at the bar, but you couldn't see the bar because of that wall. Because it was like the dining room of the Mexican restaurant.
Sounds awesome.
It was great.
But now the good news of that is it's still a gig.
It's still fun.
You're still
we used to
playing
have so
music.
much fun at those. Even though it was such a crappy gig and we would kind of like talk junk about it.
Yeah,
In
even like the
hindsight,
worst
it
shows
was
that we've ever had.
fantastic.
It's still, I'd rather go do a gig than go hang out at a party.
Yes.
That's usually like, that's just what musicians like more. It's like, cool, we get to go play
That's
music.
going out for me. It's going to play music. Yeah. I
It-
don't want to
it
actually
is,
go
like-
talk to people.
Because then
Most of the time.
you get people, oh man, you were
Too
great.
strange and
when
awkward
you
for
played
that, yeah.
Avalon, I loved it. And people just pat you, they pat his arms because they're so big and manly.
It's true.
Number four, going to the worst guitar shops ever. Because now, I think, who came up with that one? Was that Sean's? I can't remember. But there's a lot of bad guitar shops.
I feel like it's almost like, it's not even going to, it's the disappointment when you go to a new place and you walk in and there's like,
There's nothing.
there's just nothing.
The strings are rusted.
Like, oh.
Or like the worst is when the staff is just mean to you. Or indifferent.
Occasionally happens.
Indifference was a common theme.
And yeah, I feel like that's probably more than outright meanness.
Because they immediately look at you, like look at us, and like those guys can't afford these guitars. So
And they're right. They're not wrong.
they're right, and they should ignore us. But the positive is we've gotten to go to the best guitar shops in the world, and some of my favorite times are at guitar shops.
Absolutely.
Like the first time I went to Wildwood, the first time I went to Wilcutt's was even fun when I discovered the hidden room behind.
Yeah.
Up at Music Villa too. That's one of those like sort of like God moments. Even Chuck Levin's, when I went there for the first time, this is the weirdest part, because it's a weird, it's like it's a mixture of like hardcore pawn, like the coolest guitar shop you've ever been in. It's got these guys at the door checking to make sure. But then
I hear there's guys with pistols there.
But I went downstairs there. Well, that's what I was getting to. I went downstairs into the basement and like they show these catacombs, and then you go upstairs to the offices, and they're having like salsa lessons.
What?
With like guys wearing like holsters with pistols. That's Carlos doing that. And he's like, don't. I don't know what's that.
You don't ever let me wear pistols.
Well, because it's weird. But Chuck Levin's, it's not upstairs. It doesn't happen in the show.
I feel like you should let me wear pistols.
I don't think so.
That's our new.
Okay, number 5.
Everyone vote on this. Jonathan should wear pistols.
Not being able to afford the guitar you think you want / need.
It's true.
You never really can afford and get everything you want.
I mean, I always thought when I was in that former Mexican restaurant that if I just had a 64 Strat, man, the crowds would have been beating the door down.
And the silver
And then...
No, it wouldn't have mattered.
wouldn't have.
The silver lining of that, though, is then you eventually, after years of doing this, you realize you don't really...
it didn't matter.
Don't really need what you thought you wanted. It doesn't. It's like, I mean,
it's cool. It's nice.
people come in and they'll look at like our guitars and they're like, oh man, look at that funny 78 Deluxe you have. I'm like, well, that was just my guitar.
your guitar that you
And
had.
I loved it, and that's the only guitar I had, and I didn't want another one. I didn't care. Number 6, practicing. And you spend hours alone, no sunlight really, listening to weird music or not, and just with metronomes or not, and just I remember that part of my life too, just like it was hours.
Yeah.
And like, you're like, oh gosh, I gotta practice. But then later, you realize that's some of the best times of your life too.
That was kind of amazing. Like I would kind of love just to practice for like 8 hours. Like
I used to practice like 4 to 5 hours a day. That was like
you just
my
sit
thing.
for hours, right? And you take a break, and then you sort of just go back to it.
Once you get married and have children and have a job, it just goes away. I remember like practicing when my parents had a pool table. I would just sit on it and play with like their Walmart stereo. I plugged into that as my amp because I figured out a way to jack it because I didn't have an amp.
Nice.
And then my grandmother was living with us at the time, and she would always sneak to listen to me, but I could always tell she was there because she wore so much perfume.
No.
And it would just smell. But it was it's a weird memory I have
nice.
of like I could smell this weird, overpowering perfume, knowing that I was sort of being watched. And so now when I smell this weird perfume, like her angel is watching me.
Playing your Led Zeppelin riffs.
Or doing things that you don't want to be seen.
Oh.
Like in a dark room. We won't talk about that.
On the pool table. Think about that next time you go to play pool in the basement.
Number 7's yours. It was
number 7.
The amount,
oh God.
Yeah, that's yours. Go.
The amount of time you've spent, maybe even as a grown man, in a small van, driving 19 hours to God knows where.
With not your family, but with other men.
No, not your family. With other stinky, sometimes grumpy men.
Less than stellar, hygienic situations, going from point A to point B. It's kind of exhausting, tedious.
You realize, after you're about 23, you're back. You're like, oh God, can't handle this anymore.
But the good thing is, like you said the other day, like when else would you have seen like Middle Ohio?
The whole country.
Or Iowa.
Anywhere.
Or Idaho, or like you just don't tend to go to a lot of places. And you see these places now because you're playing a gig. And I remember doing like gigs in Detroit and doing the Ohio circuit and the Illinois, and then curving around the lakes and going up to New York and then coming back down through Woodstock and Buffalo and everything, and getting back to the city, and then jumping back to Boston. You're like, what's going on?
We'll see all that stuff, or like even like the West Coast for me. Like,
oh God,
I grew up in Hamlet. I've never been anywhere, and then I started getting to go play music, and
West Coast, yeah.
You meet people and you see all these crazy things, and you say, wow, Iowa looks a little different than North Carolina.
And then number 8 kind of relates to number 7.
It goes right with this.
Yeah, it's meeting like the weirdest and the creepiest people you'll ever meet in your life. That might end up being your band. I've met some creepy people.
Yes.
And I remember when we were auditioning people for our bass player for the Blondes in New York. We would meet them at the Virgin Megastore at the car, and they'd be like, "How are you, Baxter and Bill?" And if we cite them out, excuse me, and we just run off. Like, no, I'm not. Sometimes, and then, but then, sneeze attack. Sneeze. It always comes in 2s or 3s. Sometimes we'll see.
I think you got one more in you.
No, it's gone.
No,
maybe. Jinxed it. I smell something. It's that perfume. My grandmother's doing it to me. Then you realize those are your best friends.
They are your best friends. All the people I spent cramped with the van. I mean, just such good memories, and just like laughing delirious. You hit that point where you just. I knew you had one more.
Maybe that's it. If it's not, we're gonna cut.
That's it. But
they're great.
Your best friends.
And you
because you're strange and creepy too.
Weird.
Deal with it.
Number 9, the cost. The cost that you've spent. The average, they say, over the course of a lifetime in guitar spinning is $10,000. $10,000. That's the average. Like,
Oh, God.
some of us well exceed that. Some of us sure well below it.
The cost.
Okay, so we're talking about the cost.
$10,000.
That's your average.
That's laughable.
That's a lot of money, though, if you think about it.
It is so much money.
But like,
$10,000 is so much money to me, and I think about the gear that I own, and I'm just like, oh my God, my wife is a saint of a woman.
You don't tell her how much it was.
I think she knows. She knows.
Your wife is so sweet.
Sad.
I can't believe you found her.
I
But
mean,
then, like, you know, and you can be like, oh, I'm devastated. But the good news, this is like, that's like the coolest stuff and the most important things you've ever bought, probably. It matters more than those children of yours.
I mean, yeah.
It matters more than that marriage. It matters more than that house. You know, it's the gear. The guitar doesn't yell at you when you come home. You don't need to change the guitar's diapers, just its strings. And that's fun to do.
You're not wrong.
If you're Z, you know.
If you're Z.
I mean, Z has this weird, like, sort of ritualistic thing when he changes the strings.
It's very stressful training dolphins. So when you come home and you can do something that's, you know, therapeutic, like change strings, it's good.
This other kid in the Netherlands, Nero, he has a string changing routine where he does it completely. It's a little personal, but he shared this with me. He does it shirtless. Yeah. And so he takes his shirt off. He's from the Netherlands, so he's got this Viking. He's huge too. He's a kid. He's young.
Okay.
But he's gigantic. He looks like what you think like a tan Thor would look like.
Okay. All right.
And like he takes his shirt off and like he gets like he plays like I think Norwegian like death metal or something while he's
I hope so.
And he's like changing strings really slowly, but then he's like wiping the guitar neck off, like kind of like he's skinning like a seal or skinning a whale or something. I think it's just very. Okay. He has candles. It's really odd, but anyway, if anybody else does that, let us know your weird string changing habits. Number 10. This one's sort of this one's the most important. We left it with this one in a weird way because it's how we feel in life. You always kind of feel like you're not quite good enough.
Just not quite there. Not quite adequate.
You know, that's why you get married. That's why you get a wife usually, so she can remind you of that daily.
Yeah.
And
hammer it home.
I know I was thinking about Thor when you said hammer.
I was too.
And that's funny.
You know?
And if you haven't, side note, Ragnarok on Netflix. Great Norwegian TV show. It's a series. It's a young teenager boy, and it's really good. I'm in season 2 right now, 6 episodes apiece. Wonderful show. Watching it by myself. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's just a nice sort of Baxter solo.
I watched season 1.
You did?
I did.
I thought it was really good.
I did too.
I just started seeing it. Was really good.
Strange.
Yeah, definitely strange, but fun. Now, the good news of this about feeling inadequate is that there's always something else to learn.
That's the wonder of it, right? That's why you can play guitar your whole life, because you never got it. You never have it mastered or licked. There's always something new to learn.
There is always something new. If it's like from chicken picking to Travis style to bluegrass to like just basic finger picking or to shredding.
Jazz.
What? No, nobody plays jazz anymore. Unless you're Andy Powers, you're not playing jazz. That guy can play jazz. He had us in
He can play
He locked
jazz.
us in a closed office for 4 hours and made us listen to him play like soft, soothing jazz. And then Kenny G came in. It was amazing.
I was so sleepy.
I knew we were. It's like then we all woke up in our little sort of lucid dream. It was our weird.
Oh God.
Our peyote trip we took out there at NAMM.
He's good, man.
Yeah, he's a really good guitar player. Kenny G is shreds too, man. That guy tears it up.
It's true.
Circular breathing. Who knows about circular breathing?
I've heard the term.
You know, we play a note continuously. You're breathing through your nose as you blow. It's unbelievable. I think Kenny G and Z, the dolphin trainer, and Nero, the string changer Viking, should get together and form a thing. With Andy Powers as the front man.
Cool.
From Taylor Guitars.
That'd be fantastic.
It's a well-dressed dapper man, by the way. He always looks good. It's frustrating. But you walk in a room with him like, oh, God, it's us.
Speaking of not feeling adequate, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah. I always don't feel adequate.
Full circle.
But, I mean, that's kind of it. Like, you never stop learning. It's fun. So that's it. So don't be too depressed. Take all those depressing things, the tens of thousands of dollars, the inadequacy, the hours in the van, the fact that you're poor.
It's all fun.
We don't have to have real jobs. We get to have fun and we get to be with our family and they tolerate us.
A bad day guitaring is better than a good day doing anything else.
That's what I say. So let us know your thoughts. If you have anything you want to add to it, add it. Make it fun. Have a good time with it. Get your friends to add too.
But you got to put the positive too.
You have to be positive.
Don't just throw bad things.
Yeah, we're not about negativity. This whole channel is about positivity, if anything else. And if you just want to be a negative troll, I mean, I guess you can.
I mean, I'm sure you'll be there too. But, however.
When I'm walking over bridges with my kids, I say like, well, that's where the internet trolls live. Underneath the bridge. They eat the goats. And the kids are like, what? I'm like, yeah, there's trolls. Anyway. But go, take us home, Johnny.
There you go. Click like and subscribe if you have not already. Thanks for hanging out with us. As always, don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss videos in the future. We'll see you next time.